Christmas Jeff would start right around now, which would be...
Yeah, because you're tired. So you reach into their candy buckets while they're away at school during your lunch break.
I've done that, yeah. I do that, yeah. Hey guys, I'm Dr. Jeff from Newman Chiropractic. I'm here with my fiance Maureen. She handles Maureen's meals for the website, and we're here for another episode of the Newman Experience. All right, every single month we focus and highlight a pillar of health, one of them. All right, this time we're doing sleep. All right, and we're hoping that the information that we go over today and the discussion we have helps you guys establish a new healthy habit, right, or maintain a previous healthy habit that was lost, and hopefully keep that healthy habit and roll into the next month and start stacking these guys up to form a nice, healthy, longevity, long-lasting habit formation, right?
Yeah.
So, like nuclear. Am I saying nuclear right?
Nuclear.
Yeah. All right. So, as I found out, I was saying seasonal affective disorder wrong. So it is seasonal affective disorder.
Yes, because it's related to your affect.
Your affect.
Yes. Okay,
so we're going to go over seasonal affective disorder. I'm just going to call it SAD from now on. All right, so SAD, seasonal affective disorder. What seasonal affective disorder is by the Mayo Clinic here, we've got that up. It's a type of depression that's related to changes in the seasons, right? Symptoms include, right, signs and symptoms of SAD include feeling depressed most of the day, nearly every day, losing interest in activities you once enjoyed, having low energy, having problems with sleeping, experiencing changes in your appetite or weight, feeling sluggish or agitated, having difficulty concentrating, feeling hopeless, worthless, or guilty, having frequent thoughts of death or suicide.
Yeah. So it's important to mention, though, that there's the two, like that's the clinical.
This is the clinical diagnosis.
Yeah.
And affects roughly 5 to 10% of the population.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's the winter blues, which is a less severe version of SAD, right? That affects 15 to 20% of the population. So, I mean, 15 and 20% of the population is affected, affected or affected? Affected in one way or another with SAD, right? Yeah. So it's very important to go over exactly what SAD is and then why people may notice a difference, right? And then what we can do to help ourselves out, right? Becoming more self-aware of it allows us to establish and notice when we should make changes, right? So when it comes to sleep and why SAD is so much of why sleep has so much of an effect on our mood, right? Is because sleep is huge in helping us regulate the levels of particular hormones in our body, right? So as we live, we are in a sympathetic state. We're that fight or flight state nowadays. Stuff's constantly vying for our attention, and our attention is high, right? So when we sleep and when we wind down, that's a parasympathetic stage. That's a stage where our body is doing all sorts of recovery things, right? So those things that take place are crucial for our health and recovery and longevity. Now, when we have reduced sleep or less effective sleep, then we end up having more issues, right? So when we have less effective sleep, we actually lose out on serotonin levels, melatonin levels, and hormones like that. Now, when we are depressed, we actually have lower levels of serotonin in our body.
And for the lay people in the world,
the happy hormone. Serotonin is the happy hormone. So the more serotonin in our body, the happier we are. Yeah. Okay, so which is why medications for depression increase the amount of serotonin that's in our body. Yeah. Right? So medications for depression increase the amount of serotonin in our body. Now, it would be ideal for us to have high levels of serotonin in our body anyways. So things that can disrupt those serotonin levels is inadequate sleep, right? So we have less sleep, we have less serotonin in our body. And we tend to notice that around this time frame when our sleep is more likely to be disrupted. Yeah. Yeah, now the other player is melatonin, and melatonin is really based off of our circadian rhythm, and our circadian rhythm is our internal clock. Now, there has been good research that supports the fact that day or night has no bearing on our circadian rhythm. Did you know that?
No.
No? So they took people, put them in a cave.
Oh, yes. Okay, go ahead.
Told you this story, right? Yeah. So put them in a cave, and they didn't have any light besides candlelight, right? And those people still fell asleep and woke up at the exact same times as they did when they were out under the sun.
Okay.
Okay? So our circadian rhythm is very much a regular routine, whether we realize it or not.
So once it's established.
Once it's established, right?
Okay.
And then we go and mess with it with daylight savings time.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right?
It's messing everything up.
It's messing everything. I don't like daylight savings time. So it messes everything up. And then we have to retrain our circadian rhythm.
Just a simple hour.
Just 1 hour.
Yeah.
And then that simple hour has actually been shown to increase or decrease the amount of hospitalizations due to heart attack or stroke. Right?
Okay.
By just 1 hour.
Can you explain that?
So scientists have taken data from hospitals around the United States on the day of the clocks being moved forward or backwards, right?
Yeah.
Fall back. Or spring ahead, right? And based off of the time lost or time gained, we'll see a higher level of heart attacks or strokes just in that one day. Or a reduction based off of the mean, right? Mean is the norm.
Yeah.
Based off of the mean, right? Based off of the normal amount of heart attacks or strokes every single day. In just one day every year, there's more. And in one day every year, there's drastically less.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So lack of sleep, right, we know ends up causing an overly sympathetic state of our body, right? So higher blood pressure, right?
Yep.
All of these fight or flight things. You getting it?
It's clicking.
This is like third take and that you're finally getting it. So by having our heart rate faster, being constantly alert, trying to always watch out for bad guys, right? We have more pressure and more trauma to our cardiovascular system, which will cause more plaque buildup, right? Which will then potentially break off and cause a heart attack or a stroke.
So in daylight savings time, because you're awake for an additional amount of time that your body is not used to,
yes,
you're in a heightened sympathetic state.
Yeah, and I really think that what it comes down to is just the disruption of that routine of sleep, right? So like we had talked about before about how we get into bed and we're used to going to sleep at that particular time, and then we look at the clock and we're like, how come we're not sleeping yet? It's an hour later than it should be. And then all of a sudden I'm frustrated and stressed, right, that I'm not falling asleep the time I should, because I know I need to be up at a particular time the next day, right?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I feel like it obviously isn't intended to be, but it is very like anxiety inducing. When you have a good sleep system established, when you sort of rely on that schedule to be able to function optimally, when all of a sudden it's different, it can be stress inducing.
Yeah, I know when I lay there in bed, I'm like, crap, I'm gonna feel like crap tomorrow.
And everybody thinks, oh, fall, daylight savings time, fall back, you get an extra hour of sleep. You really don't.
No. And I think this is extremely disruptive right now too, because it's darker out throughout the day anyways, right?
Yeah.
So we don't have as much daylight, right? Which means that we don't have as much vitamin D that can help impact our inflammatory levels and our overall health, right? So there's just a lot that goes into our emotional state, whether we realize it or not, based off of hormones that are naturally being released. It's a real bummer. All right, so it's very important, right, that we make sure that during this time, because we know that we're going to have less efficient sleep, right? Just because of the time of year it is, we're going to have less efficient sleep, which will significantly impact our health. So we've got to keep in mind that it's very easy for us to, like we talked about before, the foods and high in carbohydrates, right? Like we reach out for stimulants. Carbohydrates are a subtle stimulant. We've got caffeine, right? So as our time change, our internal clock starts changing, it's very easy for us to reach for alcohol to help us fall asleep at the end of the day. Very easy for us to feel tired or sluggish in the morning when we wake back up, so we get that extra cup of coffee, or it's getting darker out when we're heading back into work or starting the afternoon, and all of a sudden we're reaching for that second cup of coffee, which will then disrupt it's a domino effect. It will disrupt our sleep that night and cause us to reach out for another cup of coffee the next day, right? So it just continues to build and build and build and strip down the good solid foundation of our health. Right? So, I mean, it's no wonder, right, that because with it being dark more frequently, right, and our sleep being disrupted, that we actually gain weight. Right? We feel tired or have low energy because the sun isn't out as much. Right? Appetite changes, right? And we crave carbohydrates. And then, therefore, we oversleep because we're constantly end up having these. And in terms of oversleep, I mean, we're supposed to have a good 8 hours. But oversleeping is us coming down off of those stimulant highs, those sugar highs, those carb highs, the caffeine highs that we have, and then all of a sudden we are lethargic and we end up sleeping more, trying to make up for that loss of sleep that we had before.
So what I think I'm hearing you say is there's a lot of factors this time of year that we can't control. Right? We can't control daylight savings times. Daylight savings time. We can't.
Sound like me.
I know. We don't have a ton of control over the winter blues, because that's really directly related to lack of light.
Where we live in the planet.
So one thing that we can do is to try to be really aware of those things and make a concerted effort to maintain good sleep habits throughout that, because it's going to help you in all areas, and it's going to help you in one small way to sort of overcome the winter blues, or on a more severe level, seasonal affective disorder.
It's really important to make sure that this time around, instead of using the sugar and stimulants, I know it sounds crazy, but you got to try to do it with artificial light, right? Like you've got to have some lights, right? You've got to make sure that the lights are on when it starts getting dimmer out. Like, it's one thing in the summer to have all of a sudden the lights are off and the sun's going down and it's getting a little dimmer, right? That's okay, and that's fine. But when it's getting dim around 2 or 3 o'clock, you got to make sure those lights are on and ready to prevent that subtle melatonin release that's about to happen from the light starting to dim, right? So we've got to make sure that the lights are on and bright, right, to simulate that lit up environment, right? I mean, we gotta use stuff like that, and just be aware of the urges that we have to get into these. I mean, it's a killer right now that this also happens right around Halloween, when the kids have extra candy and stuff.
Well, it's easy to just reach in.
And I mean, I can just think of years past. I didn't have much candy last night, but years past was like, this is when I usually end up having more disruptive habits, health habits. Christmas Jeff would start right around now, which would be...
because you're tired, so you reach into their candy buckets while they're away at school during your lunch break.
I've done that, I do that.
Get your other coffee on the way home. I mean, on the way back to work.
I mean, with the extra candy being in the house right now, I mean, that is really the date. Does daylight savings time always happen on Halloween?
No, it's usually like the first week in November, the first Sunday of November.
But so the candy's always there. On daylight savings time. Which just makes it really easy to go after those subtle stimulants on, like, I know with me, in the lunch break, I come home, I eat my healthy lunch, and then I end up reaching in there or something, and then next thing you know, it's no good.
But it's awareness, right? You're aware of it, and, knowing you. And once you know something, and once you've become really self-aware about it in your habits, you're much more likely to forego that easy route and then, try to just use all of these good strategies that you recommend to everybody else.
Yeah, I do. I do use them at times.
Yeah.
But like you said, the ability to be self-aware about it, right? And talk about it and be vulnerable enough to talk about it. It's very, very important.
And I can send you to people's house in the morning to turn the lights on at full blast.
Turn the lights on at full blast. Yeah, that's what I do. You gotta make sure that we're awake.
I do.
Yeah. So that really about it? You want to wrap it up?
I think so.
Before the computer dies?
Trying to make sure you keep those healthy habits.
Yeah.
It'll help you all season long.
And John will end up putting a link to our previous videos that we've had that go over more of the ways in which you can actually combat this, right? So we kind of talked about it here, but in our months past, we've gone over light boxes, the particular Hue brand of lights Philips Hue lights that actually will turn off and on over the course of the day based off of the timing that you set, things like that. We'll leave links in the show notes, right? Previous listens that you can have or listens that you can do, and articles that we've written before.
And be sure to check out the website, because if you're looking for something sweet to get you through the day, there's lots of healthy, sugar-free or natural, naturally sweet treats featured on the website.
What's your favorite naturally sweet treat?
Oh, those tahini date cups. I was actually just thinking I might need to make some.
All right, cool. And you put
that's
we
on the
have
website.
We have the recipes on the website, and you are way more engaged in your Instagram. Yeah. Maureen's _ meals, where you're posting pictures and stuff to get some ideas on what to make. Yeah. All right.
Cool.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks so much for sitting down again.
You're welcome.
We will see you next month. Take care.
Bye.